I'm UnaMarie Darragh. I'm a third year English Lit and Theatre Studies student. I'm a current student representative on the Board of Management at the QM, and before that I have 3 years experience previously on the SRC, most recently as Vice President Student Support on the Executive.
Great, thank you for joining us today. So our first question, you say that the union can no longer guess what students want, but instead they must be asked what they would like to see. Can you be more specific about how you will get effective feedback?
Yep, I think one of the ways we can do that is use the clubs and societies that most oftenly are in the QM. Even something like sending a survey out to them at the end of their time before like AGMs, EGMs, and they swap over and re-affiliate. I think you could incentivise that with like some vouchers for the QM and try and get feedback that way. Also, the Board of Management are on the building like Monday to Saturday, and it's sometimes quite as simple as just talking to people, finding out what they like about the QM, what they don't, and what we can be doing to improve that.
Cool. Would that be on a rolling basis, or would that kind of be, you would envisage that being at set times?
I think it would depend sort of on how the board would like to do it. I think as often as they can get feedback from people in the building, the better. But in terms of clubs and societies, I see that sort of happening at least once a year. You don't want to inundate people with emails and surveys because they get enough of that already.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you think that this feedback system will only be used by regular members and therefore have little feedback from the broader student body to affect change that they might like to see?
Yeah, I think we need to obviously be getting influences from outside of the QM as well. I think cross-campus relations are really important. It's been like a buzzword of 2017, but I think having links with the GU, who are obviously a union but do things quite differently, it would be nice to sort of see how they work and what is going well for them and what's not going well for them, because it might be some of the same problems and maybe it's about working together and seeing how we can improve that.
Okay. You want to increase life members. Why do you find them so important to the QM, and how will you increase the numbers?
I think one of the ways that we can increase numbers now is because we've moved to an online voting system. When the current VP board who deals with elections sends lists to the university, we get back the information about who's no longer a student. So it could be something as easy as like emailing those students once we've got the list back to be like, would you like to be a life member, are you interested? And I think that's another way we can boost the numbers. I think it's important because they're quite a nice look at like the history of the QM as well. I imagine they've got some really interesting stories from the time they were on board or when they were a member back like years ago. I know there's an event coming up during International Women's Week, like a life members talk, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes and how well attended that is. But I think it's really important to sort of see what's been done in the past as well, because they might have done things years ago that didn't work and they can tell us more about why it didn't work for them and why we should be trying new things and why we shouldn't.
Yeah, so would you seek feedback from them about the QM ongoing as well?
I'm not sure if I would ask them for ongoing feedback. I'm not sure how much. It would depend. I'd have to like speak to the life members and try and gauge how active they want to be. I would like to send digitalised copies of Communicate, because I think that's quite a good way of keeping in touch and letting them know what we're doing at the minute.
Yeah, great. You speak of incentives for members to increase the day trading. What will these incentives be, and how will this incentivising improve the day trading enough to make it useful to the QM financially?
Yep. So one of the current deals we have for students is if you're a member you can have 2-for-1 pizzas on a Friday. I think one of the problems with it being on a Friday is that campus is quietest, and I know it was put on Friday in hopes to try and encourage people, but if people aren't in for classes they might not want to be about just for pizza deals. So I think trying things on like Mondays or Wednesdays, and whether that be like 2-for-1 burgers or like buy 2 bar bites get a third 3, like I think we need to try it out, and obviously I'd have to speak to the cater managers and see what financially we're in a position that we can do, and I think with like feedback from them as well, because obviously they've been working at the QM a lot longer than I've been about for, so I think it's important to get information from staff.
So you envisage these being successful where other incentives have failed by changing the day and maybe trying different tactics but on the same theme?
I think we need to trial things on different days as well. Obviously new deals, we can only sort of try it and see how it goes. I think we need to do something. I don't think we can continue just with the same things that we're doing at the minute.
Right, great. You do have a lot of goals in your manifesto, it's very admirable, but do you think that these are all realistic to be able to achieve alongside the kind of day-to-day admin?
Yeah, I do. I think they're all realistic goals that I set out in my manifesto. I know that one of them is like an online calendar that I'd like to look at to make room bookings more simple for clubs and societies. I've spoken to the events manager at the QM, and she thinks it's feasible and doable. It's just checking if, like, currently we use Google Docs and Google Calendars, if that's the best place, or there's another platform that might be more beneficial for our members. So I think it's just trying to see which one fits best, but things like that are all doable. So yeah, I think everything I've outlined in my manifesto that I could achieve in the year.
Great. Do you have a specific priority out of everything on your manifesto, if you were forced to kind of pick one or two things to focus on?
That's a hard one. I'd like to focus on everything and get it all done. But I think in terms of what's first to come up, it'll be Freshers Week, obviously, because that's in September. So I think there's a lot of focus in the summer that goes into Freshers Week, and I think we can make the QM a bit more inclusive. I think it's a really welcoming place. I was a Freshers helper for the first time this year. I absolutely loved it. Everyone was so lovely and welcoming. I think simple changes like preferred pronouns on passes will be beneficial, not only for all the other helpers, but for the people coming into the building for the first time as well. I think a focus on Freshers Week and making sure that not only the helpers, but students are having a great time at the start of the year in the QM will hopefully this year have a lasting impact, and we can use that hype to continue in September, October, and try and keep more people coming to the building as much as we can.
Yeah, great. So given that you were previously an SRC member and that you've only become involved with the QM this year, do you believe that you have the kind of requisite experience or knowledge to hold this senior position at the QM?
I think having been so heavily involved in the SRC previously and been on the executive with the SRC, that they're all skills that I can very much transfer to the QM. I've been on the exec here when Freshers Week obviously happened, so I think there are little bits and pieces of good practice that I could bring over. I think there's a lot that I can still learn, which is why it's good there's quite a decent handover period for the QM. But having been a CSR this year and been actively involved in things like campaigns and charities committees and going to events committee and stuff, I think I have quite a good understanding of the structure of the QM now and how it works, and I think that actually I'm in a better position to use experience that I've had from other institutions to bring it over to the role here.
Great. Thank you so much for coming in today.
No, not at all.